Dust 2 is back, and it is in the map pool, replacing Overpass. This is a really big change that I think a lot of people weren't really expecting. Most people were probably going to be expecting another one of the maps to be gone. I was definitely thinking that we were probably going to have either, Vertigo, maybe Mirage. I never really thought that it would be Mirage, but people were suspecting Mirage maybe since it's been in the map pool for a while, but they chose to do Overpass, and people were mainly thinking that was because pick percentages of how much it was played during the major and also during Premier. If like the average player base is not playing the map or they don't want to play the map, then I think that does make sense. But for the competitive play, I thought it was a really good map. I thought there was like a lot of like tactical depth on it. So I kind of was just like, why Overpass instead of Dust 2? That was like kind of like my initial reaction. I'm happy that we are going to get a map pool change. I think that there should always be like some type of rotating map pool that we have as a pro player. I think that it's just more fun to always like have something that like you're constantly like having to get one step ahead of like the other teams on. Having everyone like on like a kind of a blank slate, which Dust 2 isn't really, and I'll get into that in a sec. It's kind of like a nice thing. One of the things that I kind of thought about when they added it was, this map has been around forever. If I was to compare it to when Train was in the map pool, it's been a couple of years, and I feel like if people were to revisit Train, they would have a lot of like really different ideas of how they would approach the map. Maybe they would think about map control in like a certain different way. Dust 2, it hasn't really been like that long, and I feel like the teams were at a really high level already. Maybe we're gonna have some new strategies and tactics with like the skybox being completely open. They did open up the B skybox right before it got removed, like a couple months before like Dust 2 got removed. Like you're able to like throw like smokes like in the holes here. I don't think that you actually could throw it above this beforehand, but in CS2, of course, all of the skyboxes are completely open. You can literally chuck these nades from just anywhere here. You can get it into into CT spawn if you have the correct lineup. We've already like had certain types of lineups like this. Like there was one where you did like a mid to B smoke from here. You could also have like a smoke that's just going straight to door or window already from outside long. My only thing that I thought about Dust 2 was I just hope that there's enough stuff that doesn't feel as stale as it did towards like the tail end of its lifespan. I kind of was hoping that we were going to get a brand new map, or maybe a map that hasn't been in the map pool as recently. I still would really like if Valve would be adding more maps a little bit more frequently, or rotating them out. We always want to get like some maps back in the pool, like for nostalgia purposes. Sometimes they're just really well designed, like Dust 2 for example, where everyone knows the map through and through, and there's going to be like little changes like here and there. Maybe like one major year we have like a comeback map where they did some redesigns on it, something like that, and then the second major we have like a brand new map. So while we retire like one map, and like that's like on the back burner to get like redeveloped kind of later, we add like a completely new map that people can see like if they vibe with it, if they like it. If it's a flop, it's a flop. It is what it is, and I hope that they just like take the suggestion. I think that it would be fun. I always like learning new things, especially with maps, and seeing how far we can go with like some tactics and stuff like that. In other changes with the last patch, we have Inferno getting some changes here. They removed this little archway that was here before, getting in a little bit more light. It's also slightly wider, if I'm not wrong, here at the bottom of Banana. I think that it's just not blocking as many nades, but I don't really think that was an issue before. We'll have to see exactly like how much like this change is going to be, but it definitely is more sunny in here. That's always a good thing for vibes. They also kind of like removed like some little props here and there. Like for example, there was a mailbox here that they removed. So just for people to be able to like walk around and not get like stuck by a bunch of objects. I still think that there are a decent amount of objects kind of just like everywhere. Like for example, there was like a little sign that was here before that they removed. But coming back to this arch, I actually think that this is a more significant change compared to the one at bottom Banana. So not only am I a little bit happier because there's not a giant building here, but one of the things that I thought was a little bit frustrating as a T on this map is it was very difficult to blind this guy. So he could like play in a lot of these angles, and he would pretty much have no fear of getting blind, because all of the flashes that you could potentially throw, you had to throw really high in the air. And most of the time it wouldn't be blinding this guy for more than like a second or a half second, stuff like that. And it was, really strong for riflers, just play at like angles like this, where they can kind of like go into the fight and they won't get blind. When you would see teams like do this smoke at top of mid, there was never really like a big fear of that player getting blind. Like the thing that the player at Arch here, all he had to do was really just hold the right side of the smoke. Of course the T could like kind of walk through on this side, but he's not really going to get blind. Giving more options to the Ts to be able to like throw a flash that's something something like this, like whatever, we're gonna have, you know, set flashes, of course, but just to demonstrate, you know, there's gonna be easier ways to blind this guy. But overall, these are like the main changes for Inferno. I really like this one at top mid. I'm not really sure exactly like how much is going to be changed from this bottom B one, besides like the widening of it, which is a positive change. For the last little change of the patch, we of course have this. Switch hands, we have left hand back into the game. So all left-hand players can rejoice. I never really use left-handed that much, but I think it's cool that you have it now. Kind of the thing that I thought about with this is, you know, I've seen people do this type of micro before. This is something that I saw Donk doing a long time ago, maybe like 6 months ago when CS2 first came out. I saw him, you know, shooting through smokes and just trying to like straight to the right with it. So let's just say that I'm shooting and I'm going into it. You can see that there's a... It's easier for me to see when I'm, you know, shooting to the right. If I'm strafing to the right and I'm moving into it, then I can see better into the bullet holes of the smoke. You know, let's just say that I'm going left on some place and I want to, you know, do some strafes where I'm like shooting through the smoke and see if I can see anybody, and I know I'm going to be going left. I feel like this could be some type of application to it. So that's just a little small thing that I thought that you guys would find interesting. Maybe there's some utility there, maybe not. They added these new grenade lineup reticles. So as you see, if you just go to the settings here, these are my current settings. I haven't really messed with it too much, but I pretty much just turned it off for everything besides smokes. And what this essentially does is when you're holding down for whatever amount of seconds that you put there, it will have a big line on your screen, which is very nice for nade lineups. And now you don't need to have a bind for a big crosshair. Really good change. I like the quality of life improvements that they're always adding. This radar map alternate zoom. If you had this same command from any of my bind videos, then you would have already had a toggle seal radar scale, and they pretty much just added this into the game for everybody, so it's super easy. And they're kind of being like, hey, this is a setting that I think that you would find useful. I feel like that's what they're kind of being like, hey, this is a useful setting and it might help you. The last cool thing that they added was this redesign kind of the buy menu. First thing is this next round minimum, which I think is very cool. I like that they just added a quality of life thing. Not that it's like difficult to, you know, do the math, but you know, might as well. I don't see why not, pretty much. The other cool thing is this dropped weapons tab. If you've ever been in a situation where you're in a pug and you're asking someone for a drop and they happen to throw it over here and it's going to completely ruin your spawn, then you can just, you know, pick it up just like this. That is very, very nice. You can also do it with grenades, so I think that's like really cool. So same situation, someone did, you know, they threw it on accident. You can just pick it up very easily like that. Or maybe your spawn is too far away. If your spawn was too far away from somebody and you're just barely, let's just say that you're, you know, this guy here and you want to drop to this guy, and, you know, of course you're actually really close, but let's just say it's here. And, you know, you obviously can't reach. You can't reach if you wanted to get it to that guy, so he can just pick it up super simply. And another thing that they added with this is if you ever dropped a gun and you know, your teammate picked it up, then you wouldn't be able to refund it. But with this patch, you're actually able to refund it as long as the player that bought it can, you know, pick it up. They can refund it again. Very nice quality of life. Other than that, they added some small changes to the kill rewards for the CZ. They went from, you know, what it was before to now it's 300. The XM got nerfed with that being now at 600. The Zeus also went from 0 to 100, and there was some small Zeus buffs, but I believe there was also a Zeus range nerf, so it won't go as far now. I was already thinking that the Zeus is a little bit hidden OP. maybe they're thinking the same thing. Apparently it wasn't directly in the patch notes, but it did change in the values for it. For the final thing, they added Overwatch back to CS2. So I think that's cool, as long as it's, you know, helping with the situation there and, you know, it's doing its job. Good stuff. Overall, really like the direction that they're going with the quality of life improvements and their approach to, you know, fixing the maps. Hopefully we can get some type of map rotation that's a little bit more frequent, I'd say. I think that would just always, you know, be helpful for keeping the game fresh. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll